Hey guys, it's Jarek there, Dragon from Red Dragon Airsoft. Got another video today, but this one's going to be a little bit different. This one's going to be another one of the comparison videos between the same model but made by two different companies. So this is going to be a comparison video between the Cybergun licensed KJW made Sig P226 and the KJW M2226, which is really also another Sig P226. So let's go ahead and start out with the boxes. The box on the KJW is one of Cybergun's pretty fancy cardboard boxes with the wrong details all over it. In all of Cybergun's different models, we have noticed they put details like shooting 500 feet per second, something ridiculous like that. Like this one says it's shooting 383 feet per second when it's really only shooting about 300 feet per second. We don't know if that's because they're chroning it with .12s, but even with .12s it wouldn't be shooting 383. So just ignore what it says on the box. It also will say it has Bax's hop-up system, or something that's more advanced, the best thing out on the market. It's really just a standard hop-up system. There's nothing different about it. So with that said, though, it's overall a decent box. There's nothing too fancy. Go ahead and open it up, and as you can see, it's really just cardboard box that's flashy. The actual packaging, it comes with a pretty decent piece of paper. And since it's Cybergun, it also has its own warranty. So if it breaks or something, you can go to Cybergun to get that fixed. And a short instruction pamphlet. Also will come in this plastic stuff, so it'll kind of keep the paint job a little bit nicer. Has its own speed loader and then some BBs, which are of good enough quality to use. So let's keep that there, and now let's open up the KJW. So the KJW on the outside, like most of their boxes, just says KJW engineered to outperform, and generally we find that true. The rest of it doesn't say anything else other than a warning label on the bottom. Open it up, and you get a pretty nice piece of paper. It tells you how to fully disassemble it. And all this different stuff. Something else to point out, KJW also provides a warranty. And I have seen KJW's warranty be absolutely great. KJW is a very good company when it comes to customer service. They will respect the warranty, and they will sometimes even just do the warranty even after the warranty is already expired. So they're a very good company for customer service. So KJW, I'm going to pick them for customer service over Cybergun when it comes to the warranty. What else comes? Oh, and something else you also notice, the box itself is of pretty nice styrofoam. It's not of the cheap styrofoam like this that gets everywhere. And it molds the gun very perfectly, so you won't have to worry about it breaking during shipping. Also in the box, hop-up adjustment tool, some silicone oil, and some BBs. So in terms of the box, KJW, a little bit of a step up there, but hey, who cares about the box? Let's just show you what's actually in the box. That's really what matters, right? So here are the two different guns. Here's the KJW. And here is the KJW. First thing you'll notice is that the trademarks on the KJW are the real trademarks compared to the trademarks on the KJW, which are fake trademarks. Reason for that being is that this is Cybergun licensed, and Cybergun has the actual licenses to be able to put Sig P226 on here, be able to put P226 on the grip, and be able to put, Sig arms and all the rest of it on there, and a unique serial number. So as a whole, in terms of trademarks, the Cybergun wins by a long shot. However, KJW still has trademarks on it. Just the trademarks are not the real ones. It says KJW M226 PTP, caliber 6mm, its own serial number. On the other side, professional training pistol. And that's what this one is actually used for. The KJW is used a lot by law enforcement training that use SIGs, because as a lot of people don't actually know, for a lot of law enforcements, they don't just use Glocks. A lot of them will drop their Glocks and use a SIG instead because they're allowed to do so. Which, really, you're paying more for the SIG, and a SIG is overall better quality than a Glock if you really wanted to get into that competition. That's getting a little bit off topic, but a lot of the law enforcement do actually drop their Glocks. They don't use them. They'd much rather use their SIG. So this is what a lot of law enforcement companies do use to train. Alright, so I zoomed in a little bit just so you could get a closer view of the guns and a better view. Now, the other thing you'll notice immediately is that the paint is a little bit different. The Cybergun model in the light, let me show you, it has a tendency to kind of glare in the light. Now, the paint job isn't horrible, but the type of paint they use doesn't exactly, well, it works, but it doesn't exactly look the best, and it also has more of a tendency to sort of chip if you end up scratching it or something along the lines. Now, the paint they use in the KJW, as you can tell, it's much closer to the actual paint job. As you can see, it doesn't glare off the light, and it won't have a tendency to scratch. The paint will stay there for a very long time, and you're going to have a very hard time getting rid of this paint. So the paint job overall is a lot better on the KJW than it is on the KJW. So that's something there. Also to mention, while we're on that line, the grip on the KJW is a lot better as a whole. It's made by polymer, whereas the one on this is made with ABS plastic, and it doesn't feel quite as high quality, doesn't feel quite as comfortable as your hand. It's not as textured as well, and even though it says P226, it's a nice finishing touch, the KJW kind of wins in that category. And while we're on that, we might as well go over to the 1:1 scale. Now, holding the KJW in your hand, it feels very, very realistic. If you pick up the actual Sig P226, you will feel no difference. This is 1:1 scale with the actual P226, and it is very, very, very nice. Everything about it just feels perfect. The weight's about the same as a whole 1:1 scale. The metal and polymer material is absolutely great. Now, if you pick up the KJW, which is modeled after the Toki Marui, it feels a little bit fatter. Which, if you know about Toki Marui, obviously they're in Japan, they can't get their hands on the real Sig. And most of their guns end up feeling a little bit fatter and also use the original gas system. This one is the same, it's a little bit fatter. It doesn't feel quite as good in your hand as the KWA or the actual Sig. It's just feels very, very odd. It feels more or less like either a 40, 45, or a 357. It doesn't feel like a 9, and it just doesn't fit in your hands as well. It throws you a little off. Now let me see if I can show you what I mean by that. Now, as you can see there, also you can see the ABS plastic grips is shining off the light. But as you can see, this one's a little bit fatter than this one. So it's not exactly 1:1 scale. Don't get me wrong, it still replicates the Sig pretty well, but it's definitely not as comfortable as a KWA. This is something that you probably wouldn't notice unless you actually have the real Sig or a KWA next to you in your hands. But if you have both of them right there, you can definitely tell the KWA is meant to be 1:1 scale, a little bit more comfortable than the actual KJW P226. You can also see it's a little bit fatter around your palm, whereas this one's a little bit more straight like the actual Sig. Now, while we're on the topic of being 1:1 scale, the hammer on the KJW is not like the actual Sig. It's a little bit different. It still replicates it pretty well, but it's not exactly like the real Sig. As you can see here, kind of has a different design than this. This one's just a little bit thinner. It looks a little bit off compared to this. And the trigger, when you pull it, it automatically goes flush against the gun, opposed to KWA's where it stays about there, just like the actual Sig does. So this keeps the fresh look of the actual Sig. So again, this one's 1:1 scale. This one's not exactly 1:1 scale. It's pretty close, and it still is pretty comfortable. It still replicates the Sig pretty well, but it's not exactly the perfect match you would like compared to KWA's. Now, in terms of working like the real one, both of them work pretty close to the real one. Both single and double action. Both of them have the slide release further back. Both of them have working decocking levers. And both of them field strip the same way. When you field strip them though, you'll be able to notice a few more differences. This is more or less the airsoft bit of it compared to the actual real steel. So as you can see, the insides look a little bit different. The reason being is that this KWA is an NS2 model, whereas the KJW is the standard original system. Obviously the NS2 model is a little bit more advanced than the standard system, and this one can get out about 3 magazines without having to regas, opposed to this one which can get out about 2. So you get about an extra magazine with this, which is a significant difference between the two. The hop-up system is also different. The hop-up system with the KJW, you take off the slide and you can adjust a wheel right here. Now the hop-up system in the KJW is actually pretty dang good and can stand up to the KWA pretty well. And those two will break about even when it comes to it. Both these are very accurate. The KWA I think takes it just by a little bit in accuracy, but both these are incredibly accurate and you can't complain. Now that we got the magazines out anyway, I'll show you something else. So you can see the KJW is a little bit fatter on the base plate. On real steel firearms, this is about as fat as the base plate gets. On the KJW, it's a little bit fatter just because it's a little bit easier to make it like that on airsoft models so they don't break. Whereas this will not break, but it's 1-to-1 scale and it's overall a lot better in terms of design compared to this. You can see the magazine, a little bit of a difference. So let's go ahead and reassemble these. Both these assemble the same way. If I do mention, the slide is a bit lighter on the KWA, the reason being is this is metal alloy. It's a lot lighter type of metal, but it is more solid than the aluminum that the KJW uses. The aluminum, like I said, it's a little heavier. It doesn't make for as good of a crisp blowback. I was actually pretty surprised though, because the KJW gives you a pretty crisp blowback. The blowback is nothing to complain about in this one or this one. Both of them kick very, very well. But like I said, this one uses the NS2 model or the NS2 system, whereas this one doesn't. So you're going to get a little bit better of a blowback here. It's going to be a lot more even, and overall as a whole, it's just going to be a little bit better when it comes to it. Now I mentioned in the KJW, the hop-up unit is actually when you take out the slide, that little wheel in there. With the KWA, you need to grab your hop-up tool, take out your magazine, pull back the slide, and there are these ridges inside. Whereas you'll need to put your hop-up tool and adjust it left-right. So overall, pretty easy to adjust, and overall does its job pretty dang well. Now both these, like I said, both these hop-up units break about even. They're incredibly accurate, and both these guns can hit targets up to about, say, a little, over 100 feet. You're going to be able to hit your target. I even have this one hitting targets at 150 feet. And if you get a little practice with it, you're going to be pretty dang accurate in this one. Accuracy is a little bit better in this and this, but both these are incredibly accurate when it comes down to it, and the hop-up units are perfect. Really, the biggest difference is, the hop-up units in these are about equal, like I said, but the biggest difference is this one shoots about 300 feet per second, this one shoots about 330. So you get a little bit more range out of the KWA than you do the KJW. It's just a little bit to notice. But normally you're not going to be pulling out your pistols for ranges that long. Normally you're not even going to use your pistols unless you're in a bit of a tight spot. Out of ammo, oh crap, you got to pull out your pistol, and you need to have one you can rely on. Both these you're going to be able to rely on, and both these are overall pretty good choices for your sidearm. I think the biggest difference you're going to notice is really what do you want. This one comes with real trademarks and is 130 bucks. This one comes with not real trademarks, but is a little bit higher quality and costs you about $30 more. So do you want to spend more and get a little bit better of a product, or do you want to spend a little less and get real trademarks? It's really the choice that's up to you. Now let's go to the sights. The sights are pretty close to identical on both of them. As you can see, both these are very similar. However, I have noticed with the KWA, they're just a little bit higher quality as a whole. Because, like I said, both these do a very good job, but you can also, on the KWA, flip. Here, I'll show you. You'd be able to slide this off, flip it around, and put it back on so you'd have sights for longer elevations. Because the white dots on the top here are raised a little bit higher on the sights than here. So you can switch it out if you need to shoot for longer ranges, which is pretty cool. On the KJW, they have holes on the top of the sights, like they were thinking with that in mind, but they didn't actually put any white dots on top, which kind of confuses me. So you'd be able to do it with the KWA and you wouldn't be able to do it with the KJW. But both the sights are pretty close, so I'm going to call it just a slight win by KWA, but really it's not much to put a big fault on either one of them. Now, like I said, both these are very, very good models to pick up. Both these replicate the SIG very, very well. I was very surprised with the Cybergun, with how reliable it was, and as of course, I think I was actually more surprised with the Cybergun with the KJW model than I was with the KWA, because with KWA I was already expecting to get something that was well overdoing it, especially with one that was primarily sold to the law enforcement market, which is really why you don't see it on their website. It's primarily sold to law enforcement. They want to have enough to sell to them. But with the KJW, I wasn't expecting it to be too out of the normal, but I got a lot more than I was expecting. The slide on this, you can hear it. It's aluminum, but it's very, very stiff. It kicks a little bit unevenly, but overall it gives you a very solid kick that is a lot stronger than most gas blowbacks. Now the KWA gives you a little bit better of a sound, but that's just because of the actual quality of the slide. So both these kick very, very nicely. The KWA kicks a little bit straighter though. It kicks a lot like the real SIG, straight back, and the recoil is very, very easy to manage, and you can immediately put your target, your sights right back on target and start shooting. With the real SIGs, even the 45s, you shoot it, they kick straight back, they kick very evenly, they kick nicely. They kick very similar to like a 22 does. So this is a very nice model in terms of the kick, a little bit straighter than this. But again, like I said, it's really a matter of opinion. What do you want? Do you want to spend a little bit more money, about $30 more, and get a KWA which is a little higher quality, or do you spend $30 less and get a Sig P226 that has the actual SIG trademarks on it? It's up to personal opinion. If I had to choose, I always choose performance over look, so I would go with KWA, and the 1-to-1 scale kind of draws my attention. But I know a lot of people that don't like to have the fake trademarks on there, they want the real trademarks, and they would go with this one. Personally, like I said, performance over looks, but it depends on who the person is and how you think about it. Now, I'm going to have one more thing to add in. I'm going to be adding in slow motion clips. Keep in mind, when I recorded the slow motion with the SIG, it was a little bit later in the day, so it's a little bit darker than the KWA. I apologize for that, but what I'm trying to show is the kick of the gun and overall what it feels like. So with the SIG, the KJW, when you shoot this one, you'll notice the kick is a little bit off sideways. It feels a little bit different. And with the KWA, it kicks straight back, and it's a very easy to manage recoil. Really easy to get right back on target. So that's what I want you to look for in slow motion. But again, sorry for the darkness on the KJW. Now I'll play the KJW slow motion first, and then I'll play the KWA. Now since slow motion has no sound, we're going to have to add in some music. And a person died a little over a week ago, about a week and 3 days ago. His name was Ronnie Dio. If you don't know who Ronnie Dio is, I'm going to have to gouge your eyes out with a spoon, because Ronnie Dio is he's a metal legend, really, to put it straight flat out. He is very well. So to explain it, Ronnie Dio was the main vocalist that took over for Ozzy when he was kicked out of Black Sabbath. So he's the vocalist of Black Sabbath, he's also the vocalist of Heaven and Hell, and he's also the vocalist of his own Dio albums, which there was about 10 of them. So in memory of Ronnie Dio, we're going to be playing some of his music. This song is going to be Stand Up and Shout by Dio. I strongly suggest you go check Dio out. And again, this is supposed to be in memory of Ronnie Dio for him passing away last week. So with that said, let's go ahead and play the slow motion clips, and that'll be the end of the video. So I will see all you guys next time.